Good morning, everyone. Today is a beautiful Saturday morning. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parbrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Bhur Bhavaswaha Tatsavitravare Vargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat Asto ma sadgamya tamso ma jyotirgamya mrityorma amritam gamya Om sehna vavtu sehna bhunaktu saviryam karvavai tejasvi navaditamastu ma vidvishavahi Om shanti shanti shanti. These days in this class we are studying Patanjali's Yoga Darshan. Patanjali is the author and name of the scripture is Yog Darshan. See, there are 6 darshan from that beautiful land which we call Bharatvarsha. Okay? 6 darshan. So yoga is one of them. In fact, all the other 5 darshans, they say that through yoga we attain the moksha. Through yoga. So yoga is a practical part of it. Okay. So we ended our class with verse number 19, chapter number 1. Bhav pratyo videhe prakriti liyanam. So he's saying that some people are born with certain powers. It's not that God has done some kind of a favor to them. These people, they have done a lot of sadhana. So videha, they have mastered their body. And some even gone beyond that, they have mastered the prakriti also. Okay. So people belonging to the category of videha and prakriti laya are born with the capacity to attain the highest level of samadhi. And highest level of samadhi is the nirbij samadhi. No sanskars left. After that comes a dharmeg samadhi also. We'll learn about all these samadhis very soon. Okay. So now, next verse is for people like us. Sure, we know what the goal is. And we need to know how to strengthen our own sadhana. So in this particular verse, Rishi Patanjali is talking about 5 virtues we need to cultivate. He says, Shraddha, Virya, Samriti, Samadhi, Pragya, Purvaka, Itaresham. Shraddha. Shraddha means faith, trust, conviction. See, Shraddha word is a compound word. Shraddha means which holds you in place, and dha means which provides you nourishment for you to grow. So that's why this is very important. That's why it's called faith. Shraddha. Virya, the second one. Virya is the radiant energy. Energy that makes us shine. You can call it inner strength. That's called virya. It's also called the elixir of life. Some people just think that it's a sexual energy. This is a really energy of the soul. Virya. Samriti, the retentive power. The power to recollect. Samadhi. Samadhi is a spiritual absorption. Whenever meditation reaches to that state, when the mind is standing still, Samadhi. All-consuming focus is called Samadhi. Pragya. Pragya is crystal clear intellect, the most refined knowledge. or you can also call it a revealed knowledge. Purvaka, preceded by or accompanied by. Itaresham, in the case of others. That means different from those explained in the previous sutra. So if you are born as a videhi or prakriti laya, you have already done all this. These are part of your personality. But if you don't, then cultivate these. So others, those who are not born with the extraordinary abilities to attain the highest level of samadhi, provided their practice is accompanied by conviction, inner strength, retentive power, all-consuming focus, and clear understanding. Okay, so those who have not yet freed themselves from attachment to the body and mind. See, videhi and prakriti laya, they are totally detached from the body. All the bodies, not just the physical body alone. So let's look at all these 5 virtues. How can we reach goal? First of all, we must commit ourselves to a methodical practice. We see that even those born with extraordinary gifts, or even God incarnates when they come. If you look at the life of Lord Krishna, Lord Ram, or any other guru also, they kept their practice seriously. Sure, there were a lot of obstacles they confronted, but they stuck with their practice. So for ordinary seekers like us, greater need for preparation for the journey, because the journey is long and our resources are meager. So that's why those exemplary people, they set up the example for us. This preparation, as I said earlier, has 5 virtues. Taken together, these 5 virtues help us persist in our quest when the obstacles arise. We'll learn about the obstacles also. Right now, let me tell you, disease could be an obstacle. Even when you are sick, still doing your practice. Fatigue could be an obstacle. Doubt, carelessness, sloth, sensuality, misunderstanding, frustration. Because sometimes all these obstacles, they tempt us to quit. But these rishis says, don't. Because if you quit, no progress. And second time around, you'll have to start from a lower ground. So first and foremost, the conviction, the shraddha. That means I can do it. And I will do it. So shraddha in yourself, shraddha in the teacher, shraddha in God, shraddha on the path you are walking on. So that means understanding that you have been created in the image of God, and then you have everything you need to realize your divine nature. All the limitations which we have been experiencing are because of the lack of self-understanding. So we need to cultivate this conviction by reflecting on how fortunate we are to have a body with such an intricate brain and a highly evolved nervous system. On top of it, we have a mind designed to think. And we have the intellect, which has the power to discriminate. So at the core of our being resides the power of intelligence, capable of knowing that which lies beyond the realm of ordinary mind and senses. So faith in yourself, faith in your self-endeavor. And sometimes obstacles come, at that time remind yourself of the law of action and reaction. We are in a karam yoni. As you sow, so shall you reap. I must have done something. Vedas, they say, kritam samar. Whenever obstacle comes, whenever you think that some problem is coming, even though you are very careful, but still problems come. Kritam samar. You must have done something, and this is a result of that. But right now, what you need to do, stay vigilant. That's called faith. Now we got to do good and reap good in the law of providence. Got to have a faith in this law also. That will help us when we don't see the results, despite our hard work. Sooner or later, we will see the result. We will reach the goal. So this will help us to persevere faith. The next virtue he's talking about is virya, inner strength. To cultivate virtue, we must learn how to gather and preserve the vital energy that keeps us healthy and energetic. Get rid of all the unwholesome activities because they drain your energy. They cause you to suffer from lack of stamina and no vitality. Because once our energy level has declined, the body becomes fragile. And fragile body is not fit to contain a sound mind. Body and mind, they have a good relationship with each other. Healthy body, sound mind. So to be successful in any endeavor, we must preserve the sap of life, which is called virya. And that's why Rishi Patanjali, when we look at the Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 steps, he talks about brahmacharya. Brahmacharya entails preserving the energy of your body, senses, and mind through all possible means. Eat well, sleep well, exercise well, relax, and do not abuse your body and senses through overeating, oversleeping, unwholesome sensual pleasures. Krishna said the same thing. Yugahar viharasya. If you remember that. To actively replenish the sap of life, you must commit yourself to a methodical practice of yoga. And that means pranayama also. Not just the cleansing alone, not only eating and sleeping right, but pranayama also. Yogis have given us so many techniques. Like we do in our classes, Agnisar. Agnisar really energizes us, especially our navel center. We got to learn how to replenish your vitality at the physical level and clear the way for you to discover the power of the soul that manifests in the form of willpower and determination. Okay, virya. The third virtue he talks about is samriti, the retentive power. It's very important prerequisite for success in spiritual practice. We all experience moments of high aspiration. And we need to learn how to take advantage of those. The moment spent with your Guru, or a vision you had in your sleep of the God of the Guru, or even during meditation also, glimpses here and there, they should never be forgotten. These inspired moments are precious. Invest them wisely. When the distractions and pressures of daily life are undercutting your inspiration, revisit the moments of high aspiration in your past. That's what Smriti is. Often we use this power just to remember mundane, worldly things. Use the power to remember this. Recollect when and how you started. Recall how clear your goal was at that time when you began, and think how terrible you will feel if you drop your quest midway. Cultivate your retentive by recollecting these inspired moments. The words of the Guru, words of the scriptures should never be forgotten. Words of Guru are called Vedvakya. Then the next one he says, fourth prerequisite, staying focused on your goal. One-pointedly. So that your mind has no room for any other thought. This one-pointed concentration becomes meditation and ultimately samadhi. Because once it has consumed all other thoughts, leaving no room for any distraction, then it's called samadhi. But this definitely takes time. But right now, where we are, at least one-pointedness towards our goal. Complete absorption of the mind into that goal. Because this absorption makes the mind calm and tranquil. And this tranquility is the one which will allow the mind to experience the stream of joy that perennially flows from the center of consciousness. That's how important this one-pointedness is. So to cultivate and nurture the first four prerequisites, faith, inner strength, smriti, and all-consuming focus, we have to have a clear understanding of life. We have to know that our place, what is the place in this world for us? What we are supposed to learn from the pleasant and unpleasant experiences of life. And ultimately, how to use our worldly achievements to fuel our spiritual growth. This is called pragya, actually. Clear understanding, pragya. No doubt left. Everything in the world, including our own body and mind, are the means for gaining self-understanding. It involves knowing how to gather the objects of the world, how to use them skillfully so that we remain healthy, energetic, sharp, and most importantly, knowing how to employ all our physical and mental resources to discover ourselves. These are the instruments given to us. These are the resources given to us. We are here on this earth as a human being to know ourselves. This clear understanding is called pragya. Clarity without any doubt. We have wasted many lives we don't want to waste another one. Some people walk on this path very fast, some very slow. To bring this out, Rishi Patanjali has used two sutras, sutra number 21 and 22. 21 says, tivrasanveganam aasannah. Then in 22 says, mridumadhyadhimatratvat tatopi visheshah. So 21, tivra means intense. Samveganam, sam means complete or full, veg means speed. So together the word means thoughts or feelings at full speed, or the desire with a full speed. Asannah, in close proximity. So he says, it is close to those. What is close? The victory. Victory over the mind. So it is close to those with intense desire. It's like a burning desire to attain mastery over the mind. That is the first and most essential attribute of a seeker. It's called an all-consuming desire. You will let go of everything else, but not your sadhana. If you have this kind of a burning desire. Okay, so tivrasanveganam aasannah. So if it's not tivra, it could be mridu, mild, madhye, intermediate, adhimatratvat, that is highest level, supreme. Tata api, tata means due to that. Api means also. Visheshah, special. So it is very close to those who are charged with the highest degree of intense desire, and even that intensity could be mild, intermediate, or supreme. So there are degrees to that desire also. Here Rishi Patanjali invests two sutras simply to inform us that we must have a strong desire to achieve mastery over the mind and its modifications. Remember, the sutra form of writing demands that every word be absolutely essential. Using even one extra word compromises the value of the text. So Patanjali could have compressed the content of these two sutras into one, but he did not. Rishis at that time, when they wrote these mantras and the sutras, if they could have taken out one word from the text, there will be a celebration. Just like we celebrate when a son is born or a daughter is born, they will celebrate like that if they could just get rid of one word without losing the meaning. Because all this was orally transmitted in those times. So they wanted to make sure that it's a complete also, concise also. But Rishi Patanjali, when he is dedicating two full sutras to this point, he is emphasizing the crucial importance of the desire for attaining victory over the mind. So that means we got to be very full. We got to have this kind of a burning desire. And this cannot be given. It can only be earned. Behind any accomplishment, there's always a force, which is called desire. The strength of your desire determines how easily you attain your goal. It determines how easy it will be to overcome obstacles when they arise. Or even what kind of aspirant you are. So that's why he said the lowest grade aspirants are those whose desire to gain self-mastery and attain victory over the mind and its modifications. Sure, it started with the curiosity to explore the possibility. It's like a mild degree of desire. Interest was there, but it can be extinguished quite easily by a fear of a failure. It's too hard. So it was there, spark was there, but spark got extinguished before even it started to burn. It's too small of a desire to propel a person forward. So in other words, these people, they know the value of achieving the higher goal of life. They wish to attain it, but they do not have enough motivation to really start. That's called mridu. Sure, they enjoy daydreaming. They wish they had it. Then the second level is the intermediate, madhyam grade of aspirants. They have a higher degree of intense desire, but still not powerful enough to carry them through. They start their quest with great enthusiasm, but when confronted with obstacles, they drop it in disappointment. So the first category, the mridu, they don't even start. They have the interest, but they don't start. The second, the madhyam, they start, but they give up. The obstacles come. So the first category, even just think about the obstacles and they don't start. Second one, they start, the obstacles come, they give up. But the third, the highest grade, he says, are those endowed with a supremely intense desire. Desire that has consumed all other desires. All the worldly desires, they are gone. They are pale, insignificant. Such aspirants are nothing other than the goal. They just only see that. They will settle nothing other than what they have set out to achieve. Day and night, all they think about is this ultimate goal. This is called a burning desire. Everybody is sleeping towards this. They are awake to it. Everybody is awake to these worldly pleasures. They are sleeping towards that. This is what Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita. It is also called a smokeless fire that consumes all obstacles, including the fear and the death. Fear in this world and a fear of death also, which most of the people are afraid of. For aspirants of this category, the goal is within arm's reach, actually. In the language of the mystics, they say, turn your face, you are there. So now we have to see, how can we increase our desire? How can we have a burning desire? Verse number 23. Eeshvarapranidhanad. Ishwar. Ishwar means the ruler, the guide, Almighty God, Ishvara, Pranidhanad. Pra means supreme. Ni means completely. Dhan means surrender. So complete surrender. Complete. Va means in addition to. So victory over mind and its modifications can also be gained through complete surrender to God. So that means we have to cultivate those qualities, 5 virtues he talked about. Then we got to have a burning desire to achieve this goal. Then we have to have a faith in God also, surrender to God also. We got to understand what God is. It will be clear why we surrender is the shortest route to freedom. Eeshvarapranidhanad. Rishi Patanjali talks about in the next verse. What does he mean by Ishvara? Who is Ishvara? He says, kleshakarmavipakashayairaparamrishtah purushavishesh eeshvarah. Klesh means afflictions. Something which causes suffering. Klesh. You remember in the beginning, he used the word klisht and aklisht. So klisht word is same as a klesh. Something which gives you suffering. Karam, action. Duty, obligation. Vipak. Vipak is the result. The effect. Ashir. Resting ground. Intent. Aparamrishtah. Means not, paramrisht means touched by. So that means by no means touched by. Or you can say it's unstained. Purushavishesh. Pur means city. Sha means that which resides in. Vishesh means special, unique. So Purush means one who dwells in the city of life, one who resides in our body, or you can call it a soul. So the term Purush Vishesh refers to extraordinary souls. Ishwar. Ish. Ish means to be capable of. Ish. Capacity to rule. Ish. Supervise. So the unique being that rests in the body and yet is never touched by afflictions. Actions. The results of actions and the repository of the subtle impressions of actions and their fruits is called Ishvara, God. This is the concept of God according to the yogic philosophy. This is radically different from the idea of God in the world's religious traditions. Because according to the yogic philosophy, God is said to be dwelling in us. In fact, God is us. Even though God is all-pervading, without beginning or end, but still it resides in us also. So God can be seen both as pervading all that exists and residing at the core of our being. In fact, God is the core of our being. So as a word-by-word analysis of the Sutra 23, Eeshvarapranidhanad, That is, be still and know that I am God. Be still. You will know that God is right there. So that's why stillness of the mind is the prerequisite to knowing ourselves, knowing God, even knowing the world, and even knowing our relationship with this world. So in these two sutras, 23 and 24, Rishi Patanjali is telling us that if you wish to still the mind without wasting too much time in the process, then take a shortcut. Surrender yourself completely to God. But to make sure that you do not throw yourself in the hands of a God whom you have created in your own image. That's why he is giving us a definition of a God. He is very careful or carefully outlining the attributes of God. Even though words cannot describe God, but as a student, we need to know. And that's why he has put these words in there for us. First, he says, he is not touched by afflictions. And we'll know later on, afflictions are avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh. Those are afflictions. As human beings, we are afflicted by them, but God is not afflicted by them. Quickly, let me go over these. Avidya. Avidya means ignorance. That means not knowing, not having a good knowledge, or even incomplete understanding. So what Patanjali is saying, that God is untouched by incomplete understanding. So in other words, he has a complete knowledge, and God cannot be influenced by those who have incomplete knowledge. No one can convince God regarding what is right and what's wrong. God is not subject to manipulation. Flowery words of prayer devoid of true feeling make no impression on God. So on the path of self-surrender, you must be honest. You must pray to that divine one who resides at the core of your being. Infuse your heart and mind with the truth, inner strength, and courage. And God is not touched by asmita. See, avidya, asmita. Do not make the mistake of identifying the divine as a Hindu, Egyptian, or Greek, or any other God. God is beyond ethnic and religious identities, beyond even planetary identity. Surrender to such a God. So that means we got to loosen our petty personality. Because God's light consumes all the darkness of asmita, petty I-amness. Surrender to that God. In order to surrender to this, we need to have courage. We got to release our contracted understanding. We got to expand our understanding. So on the path of self-surrender, you aspire to become like God, rather than begging God to take part in your petty whims and concerns. God is not driven by sentiment. That means there's no favoritism in him. He is not attached to any particular form or name. He is not attached to any particular hymns or prayers, cannot be bound by the rules and the laws of a particular scripture. Because sometimes we think that we got to say the mantra in this language and this way. He's beyond likes and dislikes. God embodies the power of justice in its purest form. God is untouched, not only by ignorance, self-identity, attachment, aversion, fear of death also. Also by karmas, the fruit of the karmas, and by the realm where the fruits and their results are deposited. Our karmas, the fruits of our karmas, they are deposited where? In our karmasya. God doesn't have that. Normally, we are motivated by our selfish interests when we perform our actions. And consequently, we are affected by their positive or negative consequences. We have selfish motives. And that could be the cause of our certain actions. And that's why our mind gets stained. Long before even when we do the actions, because we are thinking about the result before even doing the action, mind has gotten stained. Selfish motives are the cause behind the bondage of karma. This unique individual, which we call Ishvara or God, is not touched by any of it. The sense of individuality, the I amness. This God is completely free from all actions and its fruits, and yet God is the source of all actions. The very force of action originates from this divine force, divine intelligence. That's why the scriptures say, he without doing anything does all. And while doing everything, does nothing. His actions are defined as the actions of one who's inactive, akarta. Practicing complete surrender to such a divine being means to contemplate on God's intrinsic attributes, to resolve to cultivate those attributes in ourselves. Because if we want to become one with God, we got to have these attributes. Only the similar can become one. To make our faith in the scriptural proclamation a living reality, that God resides in the heart of all living beings. This one light alone shines in all hearts. Remember that. We got to adhere to this conviction that we are always under the guidance and protection of this light. That's called eeshvarapranidhanad, surrender to God. Regardless of whether or not we know we are where we came from and where we'll go. So that means we have come from there and we are going there. But most of the people don't know. When we have the knowledge, this journey becomes faster. As aspirant whose heart is infused with the power of surrender attains freedom from all fears, all doubts. So if somebody says, I have surrendered, but the minute we put but, that means there is a doubt. The minute we are afraid of something, some outcome, that means we need to work on it. Surrendering to God. Darkness can never swallow the light. Remember that. And He's all light. He's all light. So next week, we'll start with verse number 25. Further, he is trying to explain what God is, what Ishvara is to us in a very beautiful way. Let's end the class over here with verse number 24. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Viseshyate Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.